Dr. K. Sendil Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, Loganatha Narayanaswamy Government College, Ponneri, Chennai. He has done PhD in Material Science at Anna University, Chennai. He has 17 years of teaching experience. He has published 5 articles in national and international conferences and journals. He attended more than 14 conferences and workshops in all over India.
Welcome to UGC lecture series. Today's subject, quantum mechanics. In this session, we are going to see double slit experiment, probability amplitude derivation, Heisenberg uncertainty principle, uncertainty relations involving canonical pair of variables, derivation from wave packets, then validation of Heisenberg uncertainty principle by means of gamma ray microscope. Then we will see some of the applications of Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Double slit experiment with the electrons. In the previous session, we have seen the explanation of this schematic diagram. Then we know psi 1, psi 2, these are all the wave functions of electrons from slit 1 and slit 2. Similarly, the probability amplitude how to calculate, we have seen by means of this equation. Now, we will exactly derive what is the wave function values, first electron, second electron, then the probability amplitude of the final output of double slit experiment with the electrons. The electron from the gun. Before moving to the slit, the wave function of electron psi is equal to a into exponential I k x. Exponential I k x, we know that exponential I k x is equal to cos k x plus I sin k x. This is the basic equation. This we have seen in the complex analysis in the lower classes. So, based on this only, the electron after passing through the slits, if the electron passing through the slit 1, then wave function of the first electron psi 1 is equal to a1 exponential I k x 1 and wave function of second electron, that is electron from second slit psi 2 is equal to a2 exponential I k x 2. We can add these two. So, psi 1 plus psi 2 at the output, the two slits electrons will come, that is interfere or superimpose with each other, you will get the final output like this. So, psi n exponential I k x 1 plus a2 exponential I k x 2. a1 exponential I k x 1 plus a2 exponential I k x 2. So, psi is equal to a1 exponential I k x 1 plus a2 exponential I k x 2. Then probability is psi into psi star. The complex conjugate of psi is psi star. So, psi into psi star is modulus of psi x squared. So, psi is a function of x. So, we can read this as psi of x or simply psi, since we know psi is a function of x, that is wave function is a function of position x. So, instead of we read psi of x, simply we can read psi. So, modulus psi squared is equal to psi star x into psi x. So, now we substitute the psi star values and psi values. Psi star value is here, that is because of complex conjugate, then I term should be negative. So, cos minus I k x 1, this is cos k x minus I k x, whereas cos exponential I k x 1 is cos k x plus I k x. So, psi star this value and psi of x this value. After simplifying, we get a1 exponential minus I k x 1 a1 exponential I k x 1 plus a2 exponential minus I k x 2 a2 exponential I k x 2 plus a1 exponential minus I k x 1 a2 exponential I k x 2 plus a2 exponential minus I k x 2 a1 exponential I k x 1. So, simplifying we get a1 squared a2 squared a1 squared plus a2 squared plus a1 a2 into exponential I k x 2 minus x 1 plus exponential minus I k into x 2 minus x 1, that is equal to a1 squared plus a2 squared plus 2 a1 a2 cos k of x 2 minus x 1. Psi of x squared, that is modulus of psi x squared is equal to a1 squared plus a2 squared plus 2 a1 a2 cos of k into x 2 minus x 1. Then we know k is a propagation vector, its value is 2 pi by lambda. Now, we have substituted. So, the same equation we have got here. Now, how do we connect this with what we observe? Psi 1 of x squared is equal to a1 squared. So, this is a psi value, this is plus value minus value. So, this is very similar to your a plus ib into a minus ib is equal to a squared plus b squared. Similarly, we have got a1 squared and a2 squared. So, finally, we have come to the probability amplitude value. So, p of x is equal to psi of x squared, that is modulus of psi of x squared is equal to a1 squared plus a2 squared plus 2 a1 a2 cos of 2 pi by lambda x 2 minus x 1. So, individual amplitude values psi 1 squared, modulus psi 1 squared is a1 squared, modulus psi 2 squared is a2 squared, then the last term is the interference term. So, finally, the probability amplitude of the final output of double slit experiment with electron p12 of x is equal to modulus of psi 1 plus psi 2 whole squared is not equal to p1 of x plus p2 of x is equal to modulus psi 1 squared plus modulus psi 2 squared. So, in quantum mechanics, we add the individual amplitudes and square the sum to get the total probability. Now, let us see the next topic, Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Let us have a brief introduction. Whenever a measurement is made, there is always some uncertainty. That means, there always a error. So, accurately cannot be measured when there is a measurement. This always happens in the physics practice. So, quantum mechanics limits the accuracy of certain measurements because of wave particle duality and the resulting interaction between the target and the detecting instrument. In classical mechanics, moving particle has a definite momentum and position. So, it is easy and it is possible to determine the both, but it is adequate for the objects of appreciable size, but it does not describe satisfactorily the behavior of particles of atomic dimensions. What does it means? In classical mechanics, the position and momentum of a particle can be determined easily because the dimension is micro level and macro level particles. but for in the dimension of atomic dimensions it is not possible by means of classical mechanics. In quantum mechanics, a particle is described by a wave packet. According to Born's probability, the particle may be found within a wave packet. This implies that the position of a particle is uncertain within the limits of wave packet. Moreover, the wave packet has velocity spread and hence there is uncertainty about the velocity or momentum of the particle. This means that it is impossible to know where within the wave packet the particle lies, the particle exactly present, and what it is exact velocity or momentum. Large wave packet, if the wave packet is large, that is the wave spread is large with many crests, velocity spread is fairly and accurately determined, but the position is uncertain. On the other hand, for a small wave packet, if the wave spread is small, the position of the particle can be more or less fixed, but velocity of the particle becomes indeterminate or uncertain. Similarly, we have seen for a large wave packet, for a small wave packet. Now, for infinitely large wave packet, the velocity spread is fairly and accurately determined, but the position is uncertain. On the other hand, for infinitely small wave packet, the position of the particle can be fixed accurately, but velocity of the particle becomes indeterminate or uncertain. From this diagram, it is easy to understand how it happens. See here, this is we consider as a small wave packet. We know if it is a wave packet, there are number of wave trains with a different velocity, wavelength. So, in a small wave packet, the position where within this wave packet the particle present fairly known. That means, exactly the position of the particle can be fixed if it is the small wave packet. But the momentum means the spread, the wave spread. When the wave spread is more, the velocity is more. If the velocity is more, the momentum is more. Here the wave spread is less, the momentum is less. So, identifying the momentum is little difficult. So, that we have written momentum badly known. For a small wave packet, position of the particle can be easily identified, that is fairly known. Momentum of the particle, it is difficult, so it is badly known. On the other hand, for a large wave packet, the wave spread is large, so the velocity is large, the momentum is large. If it is large, it is easily identifiable. So, the position where it is, that is little difficulty. So, the position of the particle in a large wave packet is difficult. That is why we have written momentum fairly known, then position badly known. So, spread is more, velocity is more, momentum easily identified. So, momentum fairly known. The position is difficult because the large area, it may be here or here or here or somewhere. So, the position of the particle identifiable is difficult. So, it is badly known. So, what is this del x here? Del x is determining uncertainty in determining the position. X is the position, momentum is a p, that we will see in the equations. Now, let us state the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. What is the statement? The Heisenberg uncertainty principle states that it is impossible to know both the momentum and the position of a particle accurately at the same time, but it does not matter for ordinary sized objects such as cars or aeroplanes. So, this is very micro level mechanism in terms of the dimension, in terms of atomic dimension, not for macroscopic level. Now, let us have the expression or equation for this Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The product of the uncertainties in determining the position and momentum of the particle is approximately equal to the number of order h cross. Quantum mechanical simplification, we used to write h cross, its value is h cross is equal to h by 2 pi, h being the Planck's constant we know well. So, we can write the expression for Heisenberg uncertainty principle, del p into del x approximately equal to h cross. What is delta p? Uncertainty in determining the momentum. What is delta x? Uncertainty in determining the position. This relation is universal and holds for all the canonically conjugate physical quantities like position and momentum. We also can write this type of Heisenberg uncertainty relation for energy and time and angular momentum and angle. Now, let us see one by one. The energy and time, we can write the Heisenberg uncertainty relation, delta E into delta T approximately is equal to h cross. What is delta E? The uncertainty in determining the energy. What is delta T? The uncertainty in determining the time. Similarly, we can write Heisenberg relation for angular momentum and angle. Here J is angular momentum, theta is the angle. Delta J into delta theta approximately is equal to h cross. Delta J is the uncertainty in determining the angular momentum. Delta theta is the uncertainty in determining the angle. H cross, we know h cross equal to h by 2 pi. The product of these uncertainties in determining the position and momentum of the particle can never be smaller than the number of the order h by 2. So, we can rewrite this Heisenberg uncertainty relation like this for position and momentum, energy and time, and angular momentum and angle. Now, let us see one by one of these. See, this is for momentum and position. Del p into del x is greater than or equal to 1 by 2 times of h cross. So, this also can read as h cross by 2. Then for energy and time, del E into del T is greater than or equal to h cross by 2. Similarly, for angular momentum and angle, del J into del theta is greater than or equal to h cross by 2. Now, let us see the example for this uncertainty principle. Let us take a case of baseball. A pitcher throws, the baseball weight is 0.1 kilogram, velocity is 40 meter per second. So, momentum is mass into velocity, mass is 0.1 kilogram, velocity is 40 meter per second. So, 0.1 into 40 is equal to 4 kilogram meter per second. Suppose the momentum is measured to an accuracy of 1%, 1% is equal to 1 by 100. So, 1 by 100 value is 0.01. So, delta p is equal to 0.01 p, that is uncertainty in determining the position del P is equal to 0.01 P, that is equal to 4 into 10 power minus 2 kilogram meter per second. The uncertainty in position is then we can write delta x is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi into delta p, that is equal to 1.3 into 10 power minus 33 meter. That means no wonder one does not observe the effect of uncertainty principle in everyday life, since it is for atomic dimensions. Now, how to validate this Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? By means of Heisenberg's gamma microscope, then another one is single slit experiment. But now we have Heisenberg's gamma ray microscope. What it explains? The validity of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle illustrated by this hypothetical experiment, namely gamma ray microscope. This is the schematic diagram of gamma ray microscope. Here we have a gamma ray source. From gamma ray source we have got a photon. We know photon has got an energy E is equal to h nu, then momentum P is equal to h nu by c. This photon falls on this electron. What will happen? This incident photon gets scattered and moves through this microscope, then moves through this cone, whereas what we have given, a photon has a momentum of h nu by c. This momentum will give a momentum to the electrons present in this, so electron gets scattered. So Pe represents momentum of electron, here P represents momentum of photon. So what happens, what is this diagram explains? This electron acquire energy from the incident gamma ray photon and recoil. So we got a recoil electron here. Let us try to observe the position of an electron with a microscope of very high resolving power. Optical theory tells us that the limit of a resolution depends on the wavelength of light used to illuminate the electron and is given by the equation delta x is equal to lambda by 2 sin theta. Delta x uncertainty in determining the position. Theta we have seen the angle in the diagram, the lambda is the wavelength of the gamma ray photon. To minimize this delta x, we must use radiations of shortest wavelength such as gamma rays, but the use of this gamma ray involves Compton effect. We have seen already Compton effect in the previous session, where the electron experiences recoil, that is why we term it as recoil electron. In order to observe where the electron is, one of the incident photon must strike the electron and scatter into the microscope. Electron is here, when photon falls on this scattered photon flows through the microscope. This electron acquire a momentum from the incident photon and moves in this direction. Now our aim is to find out the position of momentum of this electron. This is Compton effect, already we are familiar with the Compton effect, we have seen in the previous session. Incident photon falls on the electron, then one we have got a longer wavelength, that is the scattered photon, another with the same wavelength going as that of the incident wavelength. Then the electrons present in this get a energy from the incident photon and moving through this with a velocity v with an angle phi. So we used to say recoil electron. According to principle of conservation of momentum, momentum before collision is equal to momentum after collision. But now we consider here along the x axis, we are going to consider only x component here. H nu by c is equal to h nu dash by c cos theta plus mv cos phi. Theta is the angle between the scattered photon and incident wavelength. Phi is the angle between the recoil electron and incident wavelength, incident gamma rays. So that the complement of momentum along x axis transferred to the photon to an electron is given by Px is equal to mv cos phi, that is equal to h nu by c minus h nu dash by c cos theta. So, Px, P is a momentum, Px means the electrons momentum, the scattered electrons momentum by means of gamma ray photon. So, Px is equal to h by c into h by c is constant here taken outside. So, nu minus nu dash cos theta. The limits of angle theta within the microscope are clearly from 90 minus theta to 90 plus theta. What is this 90 minus theta to 90 plus theta? So, here we have a theta, this is theta. So, here we have this is 90 minus theta, in this side this is 90 plus theta. So, we have got a equation like this based on 90 minus theta to 90 plus theta. So, h by c nu minus nu dash cos of 90 minus theta is greater than or equal to Px greater than or equal to h by c nu minus nu dash cos of 90 plus theta. We know cos of 90 minus theta is a sin theta, then cos of 90 plus theta is minus sin theta. So, this negative sign becomes positive. So, simplifying we get h by c nu minus nu dash sin theta greater than or equal to Px greater than or equal to h by c nu plus nu dash sin theta. Therefore, the uncertainty in the momentum is given by del Px is equal to h by c into nu plus nu dash sin theta minus h by c nu minus nu dash sin theta. So, after simplifying we get 2h by lambda sin theta, since lambda value is equal to c by nu dash. This is simple mathematical simplification. So, we have got this equation. So, del Px we have got, that is change in uncertainty in determining the momentum. Multiplying del x and del Px we get this equation. So, final equation we have got delta x into delta Px is approximately is equal to h. This is what we have got, the Heisenberg uncertainty relation. It states that the product of uncertainty of x component of the momentum of the electron and the uncertainty of its position along the x axis of the order of Planck's constant h, which is greater than h by 2. Thus, we have del p into del x is greater than or equal to h cross by 2. Now, let us see the applications of Heisenberg uncertainty relation. The non-existence of electron in the nucleus can be determined. Then radius of Bohr's first orbit can be identified. Then light quanta can be explained by means of Heisenberg uncertainty relations. Now, let us summarize what are the topics we have seen in this session. So, we have seen double slit experiment probability amplitude, then importance of Heisenberg uncertainty principle, derivation of uncertainty equation from wave packets, relations involving canonical pair of variables, and then validation of by means of gamma ray microscopes. Then we have seen some applications of Heisenberg uncertainty relations. What are the questions can be asked in this session? Define Heisenberg uncertainty principle, write the canonical conjugate relations of uncertainty principle, how to validate Heisenberg uncertainty principle, then finally mention the applications of Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Then rest of the topics we will see in the future sessions. Thank you for your kind attention. Thank you very much.